Don't try to sneak into your room like that. I know what you've got behind your back. Records. More new records.
Okay, Matthew Webster, it's nice to talk to you. And
very good to talk to you.
So when did you buy this company? This is kind of like Victor Kayam and the Razor thing.
No, I'm one of the investment team, but from my point of view, I was a YG customer from 2015 or 2016, and I'm lucky enough to have been able to pick just about, I sound like Victor Kayam already, pick just about any loudspeaker I wanted, and the YGs for me were extraordinary. I'd already worked with YG to improve the crossover.
Are you the guy responsible for improving the crossover?
Yes, I may be that person.
Because when I first heard them, I didn't respond to them too well. And then one year I went to CES, and I walked in the room and, whoa, this is good. And I went out to Rick Rubin. I was walking around the show with Rick. I said, Rick, I want to take you to the YG Acoustics room. And he goes, oh, I've heard those speakers. I really don't like them. I said, this is not what you heard.
Yeah.
And I dragged him in there. Well, I brought him in there. I didn't drag Rick Rubin any place. And he listened. He heard the same thing I heard. They were more coherent. They just sounded right. So you did that.
I think that was, I was talking to Yoav at the time, and so I was already sort of involved on the design. My background is computational simulation, maths, and science. I've been working with sort of simulation of everything from biochemistry to acoustics, underwater acoustics, hypersonics, things like that. And for me, all the way through, a passion's been hi-fi and listening to music. And so it was just such a privilege to be able to work with YG. So I started in 2020.
Yeah.
And yeah, for me, it was great because I kind of feel there's hi-fi systems are about this magic, this goosebump thing.
Yeah.
And it's, in my head, it's not accuracy. We're not trying to make a laboratory instrument. You're making something that transports you to this state of enjoying the music. There's so much manipulation, not every track, but with most tracks, before it actually gets to the recording you're listening to. This understanding what does this magic has been what's driven me. And that's what I think over the last 4 years we've been pushing for at YG.
And you're located in Colorado?
No, I'm based in Cambridge in the UK. So
in the UK?
Our research and development now is mainly done from the UK in Cambridge, and all of our manufacturing is still done in Colorado.
Oh, was it originally in Colorado?
Our R&D used to be in Colorado, yes.
I see.
I think it's ever since I've started working with the company. I'm based in Cambridge myself.
I see.
And I have a huge group of people I know in Cambridge around the university. So
there's a lot of smart people around there, yeah. And where are these manufactured?
Everything is made in Colorado. So
so it is made here?
Yes, all of the manufacturing is here.
Okay.
Our research and development is in Cambridge.
I see. And so the speakers I'm reviewing that are $14,000 a pair, so to go downscale like that, how do you pack so much goodness into a speaker at that price? I gave away too much.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you like them. Peaks, which was the series we introduced just after I started working with YG, was this first approach of huge amounts of computational simulation, but combined with so much measurement and listening. So it's a strange thing. We were driving for this magic of this goosebump thing, and we spent so long working out what leads to that, and through measurement and simulation, how we could deliver that in speakers. There are so many innovations we made in Peaks to let us bring it down to that price point. The first is this dense resin fiber cabinet.
What is that cabinet made out of?
Just a brief interruption, esteemed viewers. As you may know, I'm Tom Martin, Chief Content Officer of The Absolute Sound. We have a new product. It's on the Substack platform, and we're going to do some interesting things with Substack. First of which is reader questions and answers. Each Monday, readers will submit questions. We'll pick the most interesting ones and we'll answer the questions on Friday. We'll also have early access to articles and special blogs that don't appear anywhere else. We hope you'll join us. It's only a cost of a cup of coffee per month. Just check on the screen or in the show notes below. Thanks, and now back to the show.
It's just the same way that you have MDF is a relatively cheap material that uses resin and wood fibers. If you use a different resin and a different grade of wood fiber, you can have something which has a much higher density and a very specific behavior in terms of being self-damping that was just perfect.
Because it is very dense.
It's very dense.
And weighs a lot.
Yeah. I think that's I'm guilty of making very heavy loudspeakers.
And they're tricky to move because they're so heavy.
Yeah.
You can, there's nothing to grab.
So it has this faceplate which we still mill in-house, which is from 1.5 inch thick aluminium, and every other part of it is this dense resin fiber, and every part of it is just innovative. So the crossover is not like any traditional crossover. It's not just standard filters. It's optimized around exactly delivering this phase coherence. So if you look at the Talus, the mid and tweeter are phase coherent to within a degree or two, or about 2.5 octaves around the crossover point. So for 2.5 octaves, they're moving exactly in synchronization, so it sounds like a point source. And this was one of the sort of magic things that we discovered trying to work out what makes this convincing realism in loudspeakers. So it's a lot of simulation and R&D that lets us push it to a lower price point, but still keep the performance where we want.
Yeah, and they're handsome looking speakers too.
Thank you, sir.
There's a lot going on for them, so that's good.
Yeah.
All right. And the drivers that are in there are exactly what are...
The drivers, the tweeter in the Peaks range is a specific proprietary YG tweeter, and it's different to the tweeter we have in the reference 3 range that we introduced at Munich last year, in that the reference 3 range has this, I need to shine a light on it, but you can just about see it has this lattice airframe which is sitting under the silk fabric. And the lattice airframe is a unique feature of the reference 3 range. So the Peaks tweeter is different to the reference 3 tweeter, but in every other way, all of the other drivers are exactly the same as we use in our reference range. So all of these are solid aluminium, which we machine in-house from a billet. We've looked at so many different approaches. We've looked at stamping.
You mean these bodies?
No, the cones are actually made out of aluminium. And we machine them in-house. So this we take a billet and we reduce it down to 0.15 millimeters of thickness by machining both sides of it. It turns out that if you take heat-treated aluminium and you very carefully machine it, it's a very relaxed crystal structure. It has no tension built into it, so it behaves almost ideally from an acoustic perspective. It's pistonic over a huge range. And these are exactly the same drivers that we use in Peaks.
And so the woofers are also the same?
Yes, all of these are aluminium drivers milled in-house. That's the same all the way up to the 32 centimeter drivers that we use for our basis subwoofers.
I guess there's not much more to talk about in this speaker, except to write about it. All right, and so you've been head of the company for how long?
I started in 2020, so 4 years now. And
so when you took over, did you find what you were expecting to find when you looked at the books and everything? Or was all that done? All the forensics was done beforehand, so you got to see what was going on?
I think I knew the company really well. It was strange because I started with YG in the middle of COVID. So for the first 2 years, I couldn't visit because there were all the travel restrictions in place. So I got to know everyone very, very well by Zoom.
Zoom, yeah.
Which is great. I didn't think that would happen.
It's fine.
I became really good friends with them over Zoom. And actually going across there, it was great. The team is incredible, and the manufacturing capabilities we have.
Was it a hostile takeover, or was it a friendly thing?
It was very friendly.
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't. From my perspective, I joined a team that was very, very enthusiastic about what we were doing, and I was just bringing new design capabilities.
So what is your least expensive speaker?
Least expensive speaker is the Cairn in the Peaks range, which is just under $8,000.
Okay, and so the one that I'm reviewing is $14,000. It's still near the lower price point of the
Yes,
speakers.
Yes.
And there's a lot of speaker there for $14,000.
We like to think so. We've done our very best.
Yeah.
It's really nice to. It's a lovely thing to build cost no object speakers that.
Of course.
A handful
That's
of people
easier,
have.
though,
Yes,
isn't it?
exactly.
Easier to do that in some ways. Not in every way, but in some ways.
It's easier because you don't have the constraints. It's always challenging to get that final ounce of performance out.
Yeah.
But to push that to a reduced price point, to make it more accessible, to have a bigger marketplace that can listen to it, is much more difficult. And it's something that, to be honest, we're much more proud of.
But that's a really attractive price point to get a floor standing speaker in at 14K, and also looks attractive.
Thank you.
But if you have little kids, you can't have those speakers.
No, I think it's a problem with a lot of speakers. I think
But what if you made some kind of cover when you're not listening?
we've looked at that. It's actually.
I think it makes a lot of sense.
It's something that we have a couple of designs that we're looking to introduce. The challenge is to come up with something that doesn't impact the sonic performance, because the problem is,
Well, you take it off when you're.
I understand the challenge is some people don't do that, and it's a challenge for us. We'd love to have a cover that has minimum acoustic impact, because we know some of our customers will leave it on.
Well, you just have to have a little spy camera there, and when they leave it on, you just, hey, take those covers off.
Exactly, or it refuses to play music until you take it off.
Yeah. Okay, well, this has been great. Thank you. Now, if I give it a really negative review, it'll be really nasty, won't it? But
That's good. I'll be ready for it.
Okay, no, it's not going to happen. All right, thanks so much for
Thank
talking
you very
to me.
much.
Okay.